The massive screen in Earth's Global Defense Center flashed red as hundreds of unknown objects appeared at the edge of the solar system. Admiral James stood at the center of the control room, his weathered face illuminated by the pulsing emergency lights. 30 years of service hadn't prepared him for this moment. "Multiple contacts detected beyond Pluto's orbit," announced Captain Rogers, her fingers dancing across the holographic display. "Size and formation suggest an organized fleet. Definitely not natural objects." The room fell silent. Humanity had achieved faster-than-light travel 15 years ago, but chose to keep to themselves, building defenses and developing technology away from prying eyes. Now, it seemed, the galaxy had found them anyway. "Alert the Council," Admiral James ordered, his voice steady despite the tension, "and activate the outer sensor grid. I want to know everything about these visitors before they get anywhere near Earth." Within minutes, the United Earth Defense Council gathered in the underground chamber beneath Geneva. 12 representatives from Earth's unified governments sat around a circular table, their faces grave as they watched the tactical display. "The fleet is maintaining position," Admiral James reported. "They've made no aggressive moves, but their formation is military in nature. We're looking at approximately 300 vessels, ranging from small corvette class to what appears to be a dreadnought-class command ship." Council President Anderson, a tall woman with silver hair, leaned forward. "Have they attempted communication?" As if in answer, a signal pinged across every communications channel on Earth. The message was simple and clear, broadcast in perfect English. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are representatives of the Galactic Imperial Federation. We come in peace and request permission to enter your solar system for diplomatic purposes." "They speak English," muttered Defense Minister Thompson. "They've been watching us." "All defense systems are operational," Admiral James assured the Council. "The planetary shield can be activated in 30 seconds. The Luna base guns are tracked on their position, and our fleet is on standby." President Anderson nodded. "Send the following response. This is the United Earth Council. We acknowledge your presence and request. Please maintain your current position while we review your diplomatic credentials." As the message was transmitted, Admiral James pulled up additional sensor data. The alien ships were impressive but not insurmountable. Earth's secret weapons, quantum torpedoes, dimensional shields, and gravity manipulators could handle them if necessary. The real question was, what did they want? The answer came quickly. A smaller vessel detached from the fleet and transmitted another message. "We bring greetings from Emperor Marcus II, ruler of 10,000 systems. We seek to welcome Earth into our prosperous federation as a protected territory." The council chamber erupted in whispered conversations. Protected territory, a fancy word for subjugation. Earth's intelligence networks might have been quiet, but they weren't blind. They had observed enough of the galaxy to know what happened to protected territories. "Deploy the defense fleet in standard formation," President Anderson commanded. "Keep them behind Mars for now. Let's not show all our cards at once." Admiral James smiled slightly. Earth's ships were smaller than the Imperial vessels, but packed with technologies the Empire couldn't imagine. 15 years of isolated development had led to innovations that would surprise anyone who thought Earth was just another primitive world to be conquered. "Send word to all military installations," Defense Minister Thompson added. "Code Yellow. And activate the planetary information blackout. Let's make sure our visitors can't scan anything we don't want them to see." As the orders went out, Earth's massive defense network hummed to life. Invisible fields scrambled external scans, hidden bases prepared for action, and millions of soldiers and pilots stood ready. But no one outside would see anything except a seemingly primitive planet going about its business. "Now," President Anderson said, standing up, "let's prepare our formal response to these unexpected guests. They want to see Earth's leaders. Fine. But they'll soon learn that humanity doesn't bow to anyone, not even a galactic empire." The warning had been received, but unlike other worlds the Empire had encountered, Earth was ready. The next few days would show the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The Imperial ambassador's ship landed at the Geneva International Spaceport under heavy guard. Earth's defense forces had cleared a wide perimeter, their advanced weapons carefully hidden behind traditional-looking military vehicles. To the visitors, it would appear Earth was putting on its best show with primitive technology. Ambassador Thomas stepped out of his ship, and the Earth delegation had to hide their surprise. He looked almost human, except for his silver-tinted skin and slightly larger eyes. His delegation of 10 officials followed behind him, all wearing ornate uniforms decorated with symbols of imperial authority. "Welcome to Earth," President Anderson said, maintaining a diplomatic smile. "We've prepared the council chamber for our discussion." The ambassador nodded, his movements smooth and practiced. "The Empire appreciates your hospitality." His perfect English confirmed Earth's suspicions about long-term surveillance. Inside the council chamber, Admiral James watched the Imperial delegation carefully. His neural implant, invisible to Imperial scanners, constantly analyzed their movements and transmitted data to Earth's defense AI. Something about their confidence bothered him. "The Galactic Imperial Federation," Ambassador Thomas began, standing at the center of the chamber, "brings prosperity to all worlds under its protection. We've come to offer Earth this same opportunity." He waved his hand, and a hologram appeared above the council table. It showed thousands of worlds, all connected by trading routes and imperial governance. Over 10,000 systems enjoy our protection. Their economies have grown. Their people prosper. We ask Earth to join this great federation. President Anderson's expression remained neutral. "And what exactly does this protection entail?" The ambassador smiled. "Simple requirements. Earth would contribute a modest 20% of its resources and industrial output to imperial projects. You would accept imperial bases in your system for your protection. And of course, your military would operate under imperial command. For coordination purposes." Defense Minister Thompson coughed to hide his disgust. 20% would cripple Earth's economy, and foreign military bases would make them vulnerable. But the ambassador wasn't finished. "You have 48 hours to accept these generous terms," he said, his voice hardening slightly. "The Empire's patience is not unlimited. Those who refuse our protection often find themselves isolated from galactic society." Admiral James stepped forward. "And if we need more time to consider." The ambassador's smile disappeared. "The Empire has observed Earth for decades. We know your capabilities. While impressive for a young civilization, you cannot hope to resist imperial might. The fleet above carries enough firepower to reduce your cities to ash." "Is that a threat, Ambassador?" President Anderson asked quietly. "Merely a statement of fact," he replied. "Others have resisted. Their ruins serve as museums now." The council members exchanged glances. Through hidden quantum channels, they were already receiving reports from Earth's deep space probes. The Imperial fleet was moving into attack positions, despite their diplomatic words. "We have recorded evidence," the ambassador continued, activating another hologram, "of Earth vessels observing Imperial worlds. You've been spying on us. This alone justifies immediate military action. However, the Emperor is merciful. Accept our terms, and all will be forgiven." President Anderson stood up slowly. "We will need to consult with Earth's population. Surely the Empire respects democratic processes." The ambassador's laugh was cold. "Democracy is inefficient, but very well. You have 48 hours. Choose wisely." He turned to leave, then paused. "Oh, and don't bother trying to hide your military assets. We see everything." After the Imperial delegation departed, the council remained silent for a long moment. Finally, Admiral James spoke. "They don't know." "No," President Anderson agreed. "Their scans haven't penetrated our defenses. They have no idea about the quantum shield network, the dimensional weapons, or the true size of our fleet." "They see what we want them to see," Defense Minister Thompson added. The question is, do we show them now or wait? President Anderson's face hardened. Call an emergency global vote. But first, activate all defense systems. If they want to see everything, let's give them a proper demonstration. As the council dispersed, Admiral James watched the Imperial ship depart. He knew that in orbiting bases and hidden facilities across the solar system, Earth's real military forces were coming alive. The Empire thought they were dealing with a primitive world. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The next 24 hours saw the greatest global mobilization in human history. Every screen on Earth displayed the Imperial ultimatum, followed by a simple question: should Earth submit to Imperial rule? The voting system, secured by quantum encryption, was ready for humanity's answer. Admiral James stood in the command center, watching the massive displays showing both the approaching Imperial fleet and the voting results. Beside him, Captain Rogers monitored the defense grid status. "The shields are ready," she reported. "All planetary defense stations are at full power. The lunar bases are armed, and our fleet is in position behind Mars." The Admiral nodded. "And the new weapons? The quantum disruptors are charged. Dimensional mines are planted throughout the system. If they want to fight, we're ready." President Anderson's voice came through the command center speakers. Current voting status. Defense Minister Thompson, coordinating from the European command bunker, responded. "Over 90% of Earth's population has voted. The results are overwhelming." On the main screen, the final numbers appeared. 98.2% had voted against submission. Humanity had made its choice. "Very well," President Anderson said. "Admiral James, initiate Operation Sunbreak. Let's show our visitors what Earth can really do." The command center erupted into action. Hidden satellites throughout the solar system activated, their quantum sensors tracking every Imperial ship. Deep beneath Earth's oceans and mountains, massive generators powered up, feeding energy into the planetary shield network. "Imperial fleet is moving," Captain Rogers announced. "They're spreading out into attack formation. Their weapons are charging." "Right on schedule," Admiral James said with a grim smile. "Send the message." President Anderson's face appeared on all channels, broadcasting not just to Earth, but directly to the Imperial fleet. Her expression was calm but resolute. "Ambassador Thomas, and all Imperial forces, we, the United People of Earth, have made our decision. We reject Imperial authority. Furthermore, we hereby declare the entire solar system restricted space. You have 1 hour to retreat beyond Pluto's orbit." The response was immediate. The Imperial flagship launched a barrage of energy weapons, meant to demonstrate their power. The beams streaked toward Earth and vanished 30,000 kilometers from the atmosphere, absorbed by shields that, according to Imperial intelligence, shouldn't exist. "They're launching fighters," Captain Rogers reported. 500 small craft incoming." Admiral James pressed a button on his console. "Release the drones." From behind Mars, 10,000 autonomous combat drones emerged. Each one carried weapons that could punch through Imperial shields like paper. The Empire had never seen quantum-phased plasma weapons before. Earth had developed them in secret over the past decade. The Imperial fighters broke formation, clearly surprised by both the number and capability of Earth's defenses. Their scanning systems, designed to detect standard energy signatures, were useless against Earth's advanced technology. "Multiple energy spikes from the Imperial capital ships," Captain Rogers warned. "They're preparing their main weapons." "Show them our next surprise," Admiral James ordered. Dimensional mines, hidden in subspace pockets throughout the solar system, activated. Suddenly, half the Imperial fleet found their engines dead, trapped in localized fields where their technology simply stopped working. The Imperial ambassador's voice crackled through the command channel, no longer smooth and confident. "This is impossible. Your world was observed. You had none of these capabilities." President Anderson responded, her voice firm. "You saw what we wanted you to see, Ambassador. Earth has never been defenseless. We simply chose isolation while we prepared. This is your final warning. Leave our system. The remaining Imperial ships began to turn, their retreat hardly orderly. The mighty Empire, which had crushed thousands of worlds, had just met its match. Should we pursue? Captain Rogers asked. Admiral James shook his head. No need. They got the message. But keep all systems at full alert. This isn't over. In the council chamber, President Anderson addressed the emergency session. Today, Earth has shown the galaxy that we will not be conquered or colonized. But we must prepare. The Empire will return. And next time they'll be ready for our technologies. Let them come, Defense Minister Thompson said. We'll be ready too. And now, perhaps other worlds will see that the Empire isn't invincible. As the Imperial fleet retreated past Pluto, Earth's quantum sensors detected hundreds of transmissions leaving the system, heading for distant stars. The news was spreading. Earth had stood up to the Empire, and won. The real war was just beginning. 3 days after Earth's rejection, the Empire returned. This time, they'd brought 1,000 ships. The massive fleet emerged from hyperspace beyond Neptune, their weapons already charged. In Earth's command center, Admiral James watched the tactical display with calm eyes. Right on schedule, he said. They never learn. Imperial transmission incoming, Captain Rogers announced. The main screen lit up with the face of Imperial High Commander Marcus, his silver skin darkened with rage. People of Earth, he growled, your defiance ends today. The Empire does not tolerate rebellion. Surrender now, or we will demonstrate the true might of Imperial power. President Anderson, speaking from the secure bunker beneath the Pacific Ocean, replied simply, no. The Imperial fleet's response was immediate and overwhelming. A wave of energy beams, missiles, and plasma torpedoes streaked toward Earth. The attack was powerful enough to crack a planet's crust, by Imperial calculations. Defensive Pattern Delta, Admiral James ordered calmly. Show them what Earth can really do. The planetary shield activated, but this time it did more than just block the attack. The quantum-enhanced barrier caught the Imperial weapons and redirected their energy. Brilliant streams of light danced across Earth's atmosphere, forming a spectacular aurora visible from space. Impossible, High Commander Marcus shouted. No shield can redirect that much energy. That's not all we can do, Admiral James responded. Captain Rogers, activate the gravity wells. Hidden generators throughout the solar system powered up. Suddenly, half the Imperial fleet found themselves caught in artificial gravity fields, their ships pulled out of formation. The carefully planned attack dissolved into chaos. Launch our response, President Anderson commanded. Defensive action only. Show restraint. Earth's hidden fleet emerged from dimensional pockets around Mars. 500 ships, each smaller than their Imperial counterparts, but far more advanced. They moved with impossible speed, their quantum drives allowing them to appear and disappear at will. The Imperial fleet launched fighters by the thousands, expecting an easy victory against the smaller Earth forces. Instead, they met swarms of autonomous combat drones, each armed with weapons that could phase through Imperial shields. Their flagship is charging their planet killer weapon, Captain Rogers reported. Energy readings are off the scale. Admiral James nodded. Time to use the mirror. From Luna Base, a single beam of concentrated quantum energy shot into space. When it hit the Imperial flagship's weapon, something remarkable happened. The massive energy buildup in their planet killer reversed, forcing the ship to shut down all systems or risk destruction. The battle lasted less than an hour. Imperial ships either retreated or hung powerless in space, caught in Earth's gravity traps. Not a single Earth vessel was lost. Attention Imperial forces, President Anderson's voice rang across all channels. This was a demonstration of mercy. We could have destroyed your ships. Instead, we chose to disable them. Remember this, Earth is not your enemy unless you make us one. High Commander Marcus, His ship, now floating powerless in space, responded with cold fury. "The Emperor will hear of this. The entire Imperial fleet will come for Earth. Billions of soldiers. Tens of thousands of ships. You cannot stand against such power." Admiral James leaned forward in his chair. "Commander, look at your tactical display. Really look." The Imperial systems suddenly showed the truth. Hundreds of defense satellites that had been invisible until now. Massive energy signatures from bases on Mars, Venus, and throughout the asteroid belt. Earth's full defensive network revealed at last. "This is less than half of our military capability," Admiral James explained. "We've had decades to prepare, hidden from your sight. The Empire thought us primitive because we chose isolation. That was your mistake. We will release your ships one by one," President Anderson added. "They will be escorted to the system's edge. Spread the word. Earth is forbidden territory to the Empire. Any future incursion will be met with the full force of our defense systems." As the Imperial ships were slowly freed and escorted away, Admiral James turned to Captain Rogers. "Send the signal to our deep space probes. It's time to contact the resistance movements we detected in Imperial space. Other worlds need to know that standing up to the Empire is possible." "And if the Empire sends their full fleet?" Captain Rogers asked. Admiral James smiled. "Then they'll learn why we spent 15 years preparing. Earth isn't just defended. We're ready to help others defend themselves too." The age of Imperial domination was ending. Earth had made sure of that. 1 month after Earth's demonstration of power, messages began pouring in from across the galaxy. The quantum communication network, hidden from Imperial sensors, buzzed with activity. In the newly constructed Galactic Communications Center in Geneva, Admiral James reviewed the latest transmissions. "Another uprising on Proxima Colony," Captain Rogers reported, marking the location on the holographic map. "The local Imperial garrison surrendered without a fight. That's the 5th this week." President Anderson studied the growing network of rebellious systems displayed before them. "And what of the Imperial response?" "That's the interesting part," Defense Minister Thompson said, pulling up a tactical analysis. "Their fleet is scattered. They're trying to maintain control over 10,000 systems, but their authority is crumbling. The news of Earth's victory spreads faster than they can contain it." A new signal flashed on the main screen. The face that appeared belonged to Commander Mason of the Beta Centauri Resistance. Like many species in the galaxy, his people had suffered under Imperial rule for centuries. "Earth Command, our operation was successful," Mason reported, his scaled face showing what passed for a smile in his species. "Using the shield technology you provided, we repelled the Imperial tax collectors. Our people are free for the first time in 300 years. Admiral James nodded in approval. Earth had been selective about sharing its technology, providing defensive capabilities but keeping their most advanced weapons private. It was enough. The Empire's power had always relied on fear. Once that fear vanished, their control weakened. "Director Wilson's report from the refugee fleet is ready," Captain Rogers announced. Earth had been accepting ships filled with those fleeing Imperial control, teaching them to defend themselves. "Put her through," President Anderson ordered. The screen split to show Director Wilson standing aboard a massive space station near Mars. Behind her, thousands of aliens from dozens of species trained on Earth's basic defense systems. "The first group has completed training," Wilson reported. "They're ready to return to their home systems with the defensive technology packages. Our estimates suggest they can protect at least 30 more worlds within the next month." The room fell silent as another emergency signal came through. This one showed the Imperial Palace itself. The Empire's grand buildings were surrounded by protesters, millions of them, from hundreds of species. Their demands were simple: freedom. "The Empire's economy is collapsing," Defense Minister Thompson noted. "Without the resources they steal from subjugated worlds, they can't maintain their military. Nearly 40% of their fleet has deserted or surrendered." Admiral James turned to President Anderson. They'll make one final push. Their pride won't let them accept defeat without it. We know, Anderson replied. Our deep space sensors detected their fleet gathering. Nearly 5,000 ships, everything they have left. They'll come for Earth, hoping to make an example of us. Captain Rogers brought up the Defense Readiness Report. We're ready. The quantum shield network now extends to Mars. The dimensional mines are planted along every possible approach vector, and our allies. She smiled. They're eager to help. The tactical display showed hundreds of ships approaching Earth, but these weren't Imperial vessels. They were from freed systems, coming to stand with the world that had shown them resistance was possible. Message from the Beta Sector, Captain Rogers announced. The Imperial governor has surrendered. His entire sector is declaring independence. President Anderson stood, addressing the gathered command staff. For too long, the Empire maintained control through fear and isolation. They kept their subjects divided, afraid, and ignorant of their own potential. Earth changed that equation. Not through conquest, Admiral James added, but by showing them a better way. The room's attention turned to a new signal, a live broadcast from the Imperial capital. The Emperor himself, for the first time in history, was being forced to address public demands for reform. His once absolute power was crumbling. The resistance spreads faster than anyone expected. Defense Minister Thompson observed. Even their own core worlds are questioning imperial rule. Freedom is contagious, President Anderson said. Once people realize it's possible, it's hard to stop them from reaching for it. As they watched, another imperial sector declared its independence. The empire that had stood for 1,000 years was falling, not to Earth's weapons, but to the hope Earth had given the galaxy. The real revolution was just beginning. The Imperial Grand Fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly as Earth's quantum sensors had predicted. 5,000 warships, their black hulls reflecting the distant sunlight, emerged from hyperspace in attack formation. Admiral James stood at his command post, watching the massive fleet approach. This time, Earth wasn't alone. Around him, representatives from 30 freed worlds monitored their combined defense network. Imperial broadcast incoming, Captain Rogers announced. They're transmitting on all frequencies. Emperor Marcus himself appeared on the main screen. Unlike his previous appearances, his silver skin had lost its shine, and his ornate uniform seemed to weigh heavily on his shoulders. People of Earth, he growled, you have corrupted our perfect order. Billions suffer as systems descend into chaos. This ends today. Surrender and restore imperial authority, or we will destroy everything, even if we must sacrifice our own fleet to do it. President Anderson's response was calm. Your empire wasn't perfect. It was built on suffering. The chaos you see is the natural result of freedom replacing tyranny. This is your last chance. Retreat, reform, or face the consequences. The Emperor's laugh was hollow. You think your tricks will work against my entire fleet. We've studied your technology. We've adapted. This time, Earth will fall. No, Admiral James said quietly, it won't. The Imperial fleet launched their attack. Thousands of energy beams lit up space, enough firepower to crack a planet. But Earth had been preparing for this moment. Activate the Lightbringer, President Anderson commanded. Deep beneath the lunar surface, a device powered up, the combined work of Earth's greatest scientists and engineers. As the Imperial weapons approached, space itself seemed to bend. Every energy beam, every torpedo, every missile suddenly changed course, forming a massive spiral of light around Earth. Impossible, the Emperor shouted. Our weapons are guided by quantum locks. So does our defense, Admiral James replied. The difference is, we understand the technology better. Captain Rogers, show them what a real quantum field can do. The spiral of captured energy began to move, controlled by Earth's defense systems. Like a massive coil of light, it swept through space toward the Imperial fleet. Ships scattered, their formations breaking as they tried to evade their own redirected firepower. Multiple Imperial ships are powering down, reported the Centaurian commander on the tactical station. Their systems are overloading from the quantum feedback. The Emperor's face showed real fear for the first time. How? How did you advance so far in isolation? Because we chose to learn instead of conquer, President Anderson answered. To build instead of destroy. Admiral, disable their flagship. A single pulse from Earth's quantum network struck the Imperial command ship. Every system went dark. The mighty vessel, pride of the Empire, drifted helpless in space. 3,000 Imperial ships are surrendering, Captain Rogers announced. The rest are retreating. On the command screen, dozens of signals appeared, broadcasts from across the galaxy. Imperial worlds, seeing their fleet defeated, were rising up. Palace guards were laying down arms. Imperial governors were surrendering to local authorities. The Imperial Palace has fallen. Defense Minister Thompson reported from his station. The central government is dissolving. Regional commanders are declaring independence or pledging loyalty to the new Galactic Council. Admiral James turned to the alien representatives in the command center. Send the signal to all resistance forces. Begin the transition protocols we prepared. No revenge, no chaos, just ordered change to democratic systems. The Emperor's final transmission came through, his voice filled with disbelief. What happens now? Will Earth rule the galaxy in our place? No, President Anderson replied firmly. Earth will help establish the Free Systems Alliance, an organization of equal worlds, each governing themselves. The age of empires is over. As the Imperial fleet surrendered ship by ship, Earth's quantum network broadcast a simple message across the galaxy. All worlds are free. The Empire has fallen. Help is available for peaceful transition to local governance. Admiral James watched the tactical display as thousands of green dots, friendly vessels, moved to assist former Imperial worlds. Send the hospital ships first, he ordered. Then the engineering corps. It's time to rebuild. The long night of Imperial rule was ending. A new dawn of freedom was beginning. And Earth, once isolated and unknown, had lit the way. 1 year after the Empire's fall, the first Galactic Assembly gathered in Earth's orbit. The massive space station, built through combined efforts of 30 different species, hosted representatives from over 8,000 formerly Imperial worlds. Admiral James stood at the observation deck, watching ships arrive through the quantum gates. Each vessel carried delegates from different systems, all coming to participate in writing the new Galactic Constitution. It's quite a sight, Captain Rogers said, joining him at the window. A year ago, these species couldn't even talk to each other without Imperial permission. Now look at them. Below them, in the main assembly hall, President Anderson prepared to address the gathered representatives. The chamber was a marvel of engineering, designed to accommodate beings from water brothers to floating gas creatures, all able to communicate through Earth's universal translation network. The final report from the transition teams is ready, Defense Minister Thompson announced, approaching with a datapad. Over 95% of former Imperial worlds have established stable local governments. The remaining 5% are receiving additional support. President Anderson stepped onto the central platform. The chamber fell silent as thousands of beings, some humanoid, others completely alien, turned their attention to Earth's leader. 1 year ago, she began, her words translated instantly into 8,000 languages. We stood together against tyranny. Today, we meet not as rulers and subjects, not as victors and defeated, but as equals. The assembly erupted in approving sounds from countless species. On the massive screens around the chamber, billions watched from their home worlds. The Free Systems Alliance is not an empire, Anderson continued. It is a partnership. Each world governs itself. Each species determines its own path. We gather here only to ensure peace, to promote trade, and to protect the rights of all beings. Admiral James watched as the former emperor's son, now a simple delegate from the imperial homeworld, nodded in agreement. The imperial family had surrendered their power in exchange for peace, their world now just one among many. Earth's defensive technology will be shared with all members, President Anderson announced. But it comes with one condition. It can only be used to protect, never to conquer. Our quantum networks will ensure compliance. Captain Rogers checked her display. The first trade agreements are being registered. Worlds that never knew each other existed under imperial rule are establishing direct connections. And the imperial military? Admiral James asked. Most have joined the Peace Fleet, Thompson replied. They're helping maintain order during the transition. Those ships are being refitted with defensive weapons only, just like we designed. The Assembly moved to its first vote, the ratification of the Galactic Rights Charter. One by one, representatives registered their approval. Species that had fought each other for centuries under imperial rule were now working together. There's something you should see, Captain Rogers said, pulling up a new report. Remember those worlds beyond imperial space? The ones even the Empire feared to contact. They're reaching out. They want to join the Alliance. President Anderson concluded her speech with a final announcement. The galaxy is entering a new age. Earth will not rule, but we will serve. Our isolation taught us the value of independence. Our technology will protect that independence for all. In the space around the station, ships from thousands of worlds flew in formation, a display of unity, not force. The Quantum Defense Network, now extended to every member world, ensured that no single power could ever dominate the galaxy again. The real work begins now, Admiral James said, watching the celebration below. Helping worlds rebuild, establishing trade routes, preventing conflicts, and exploring, Captain Rogers added with a smile. There's so much of the galaxy we've never seen. Now we can discover it together. The final vote was unanimous. The Free Systems Alliance was officially established. As the assembly erupted in celebration, President Anderson made one last address. Let it be recorded, she said, that on this day, the galaxy chose freedom over fear, cooperation over conquest, and peace over power. Earth's ban on imperial entry becomes a promise. Never again will any empire rule the stars. Above Earth, the assembled ships of 8,000 worlds lit up their engines in salute. The light of their combined vessels outshone the sun itself. A new dawn for a free galaxy. The story of Earth's defiance had become legend, but the story of Earth's leadership in peace would be remembered even longer.